morning and welcome to the Daily Dragonfly. Today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to start on a pre-painted canvas, and this is the canvas I'd used. I think it was to do a mindfulness talk a little ways back, and it's of a pretty lotus, and I thought, you know what would be pretty on there is a dragonfly using acrylic paints. So what we're going to do first is just take some white acrylic paint and draw out my little dragonfly on here. So if I were a dragonfly, I think I'd be sitting about right there, and I'm just going to place him. I'm just going to put his little, there's a perfect little dot for his body. This white paint will give me a nice base to then add my wings and some other color. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make those wing shapes, just using a large press down and then pulling up with a round brush. There we go. We'll do this starting with a lighter there, push down, pull up. There we go. And we'll add the bottom wing. Pushing down, adding more pressure, and then pulling up towards the end. And this is just titanium white, and I'm pushing down to create that larger wing, the bottom, and then pulling up. And I think what I'll go in and do is, now what I'll do is just let that dry a little bit. And I don't mind that this is showing through. I think that's quite pretty. So we're just gonna do that. Let that dry a bit. I think for time's sake, just to make sure that it, I think I'll take a little bit of that white paint off. So I'm just gonna lay down a piece of paper toweling here. It's early morning, I need my cup of brains yet. Okay, there we go. I'm just gonna blot some of that off. There we go. That'll dry faster now, and I like the color showing through. Again, that was just a white acrylic paint with a lot of water in it. I've cleaned my brush. With acrylics too, I always keep a rag or a piece of paper toweling here. These are my acrylic colors. This is kind of fun. This is a little acrylic paint saver. You can get them at Blick or anywhere because acrylics dry so fast, right? And if you don't want them to dry and you want to use them the next day, it's just got what looks like a chamois cloth under there. You'd make that damp. You get the little paper that goes with it, and then you can put the cover on it, and it'll keep it nice overnight for you. Okay, I think that's kind of fun. You can see as it dried back, it left the pattern of the paper toweling on there. It's another way you can add some fun texture, but I do love that. And this is going to be a lot more textured because we're using it on a pre-painted canvas. It's got lots of layers of paint, so it's going to be fun to see how that paint lands on there. And I think I'm just going to add a couple more white ones on here to keep us going. A little less water this time, I think. And I'm going to add one right here. And this time I think I'm going to make more of a mayfly. So she's kind of resting here on the edge of the lily pad. And mayflies, they're the ones you see with their wings resting up and closed together. Dragonflies, when they rest, they do not fold their wings up. They keep them down because they move independently, so they don't move that way straight up. They always rest with them out. So we're going to start here. We're going to, let's see, kind of move that back like that and pull up and then do another one like so. So this little guy looks like she's kind of just sitting out. This would be a mayfly. There we go. I'll draw some little legs on there later. And maybe we'll put one in the distance up here. Just dancing around. Make that body a little bigger. Using more of the X technique when you just do your little wings in an X shape, like X marks the spot. There we go. All right. I'm going to let those dry back again. So for movie magic's sake, we'll stop that so you're not watching paint dry before we add on our beautiful colors. And I love to play with all sorts of mediums and different techniques, so that's why we're working with acrylics today. And I'm going to get some fun color in here. phthalo blue, add a little of that. And I think, I love the turquoise phthalo too, that's really good. And I'm using my favorite brand of acrylics, which they're really nice, and they have like a transparent feel to them until you add like an opaque white or more opaque color. And then I mix it up. I use all sorts. So here's Liquitex Basics, right? So you don't need to. This is a more of a heavy body, medium bodied acrylic. So you can see what I like about acrylics is they come in all different types. So this is a really creamy. You can see that it pulls up like a little, leaves a little, almost like a DQ, right? Where this one won't. This one was just a drip. So they're very different viscosity or thickness. This is like the whipped cream, and this is like heavy cream before it's been whipped. So that kind of gives you an idea. So those are the acrylics I'm using just to kind of give you an idea of what the texture is like. And that makes a difference when you're painting. How much water, how little water you add. But acrylics are so fun. They're just a really fun thing to work with. All right, so for the background here, I think I want to go in with a bigger brush. I'm going to do a little, I'm going to just dip that big, this is called a filbert brush. I'm dipping it in water here. I'm going to go into a little bit of this blue, and I'm just going to make a really watery, transparent layer here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of cover up that white there. And you can still see the white through it, but I really want these dragonflies to pop. So I'm going to paint around that a little there where I placed it. And don't worry, the white where I put the dragonflies is just a placeholder, right? That's just sort of where I want them to go. And then that white that I've laid down will let the other colors I put into their wings really stand out. So painting's all about layering, and you can cover, which I love, a multitude of sins when you use this layering technique. I'm just going to go right down into here and bring that right over all that older paint. And that will, what I love is you can still see the purples and the other tones in there, but this very light tinted layer of paint just adds a really pretty sheen there. And I'm just going to go there. Okay. So now, as you can see, I've pushed back that white so that the clouds, or whatever we'd like to call it there. And I'm going to fill in. Just going to let that dry. There we go. Okay. Now I'm pretty pleased with that. I like how that's looking. This is water, and that's a blue kind of lighter background. So I may go in and lighten that up in a bit, but right now we're just going to be happy with that. I'm going to move this over, blot my brush. You can still see there's paint in there, and you're going to want to get any kind of paint out of your brush. I don't know if you can hear them, but my little dogs are having a lot of fun barking at the neighbors right now. All right, there we go. Now it's coming out, so good way to check if your brushes are clean. Not clean, clean. All right, gonna let this dry again. Now, because it's on blue, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna actually add a complementary color up here. So I'm gonna make my dragonflies, and this is paint that I put on here yesterday. It's dried a little bit, not much though, it's still usable. And this was also a free flow type of paint. It wasn't a heavy bodied acrylic, so the water has kept it nice and usable. This little saver, so I'm going to go ahead and just squirt that. If you want to keep using some of the paint, right? So I don't like to waste paint. And I'm going to go ahead and just see what that, okay, got quite a bit of paint on there. And I'm going to take a little bit of that magenta, and I'm going to make it orange. There we go. More of the color I wanted, more of a complementary color. I'm just going to go in here, and this is a filbert brush, and I'm going to kind of add a little orange highlight to those wings. And you can see how that really pops against the blue, because complementary colors do just that. They complement each other, and they intensify the colors. So you see them, they appear brighter when they work together, when they're next to each other. I'm going to add a little water here to my brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill that in with a light wash of that same color. There we go. Now you know why I put the white down first, so you'd really see that contrast of that little dragonfly. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to fill her all in with yellow, because I think that looks really pretty against the blue. And I'm going to go down here, and because this is mostly over the existing lotus flower, I think I'll use another color that stands out against the warm colors. So I'm going to go into the cool color. I'm not going to use blue because we have a lot of blue here and here. What I think I'll do is make it purple. So I'm going to take this magenta, a little bit of this blue, and I'm going to make it purple. And I'm going to, let's see, do I want a little more magenta in there? A little more? There we go. Let's just see what we got there. It's a really kind of deep grape. I think I want a little more. There we go. By adding more magenta to that blue, I get more of a pretty, pretty shade of purple. All right, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to start by outlining the wings. And I'm just really casually using the edge of this filbert brush as a line, a little line work there. I'm just going over my wings. So I didn't use a lot of purple in the actual painting that's underneath. So these wings are standing out a little more. And I'm going to go ahead and just give it a little blush right there, just like I did on the yellow one. I'm going to leave a little of the white here and there. Add a little more water to my brush. So you can use acrylics. If you use a lot of water, you get a lot of flow, and they will do a nice little tints of color. And you can still see, I'll hold that up. I like all the texture happening here. But you can still see what I like is as you're experimenting, because that's what we do at the Daily Dragonfly. As you're experimenting, you can see that through the white and through the purple, there's still, you can see remnants of the lotus flower, especially right there. See that black line that goes up through? And I like that. I love all the different types of effects you can get. And this happy little dragonfly, I think I'm going to use I'm going to mix here this fuller bodied paint. So I'll just pull it into view there. There it is, that green, remember? That's the like whipped cream. And I'll add a little water to that was on this round brush. And that's quite bright. That's going to give me a nice pop. And we're going to go ahead and add a bright green mayfly right here. I'm going to let some of that white do the work for me, right? Still, as I experiment, I'm not worried about being perfect. It's the imperfections that make something look really pretty, I think. Happy accidents, right? Well, this has been the Daily Dragonfly for today. I hope you enjoyed our first foray into using acrylic paints, and I will see you at the canvas when we start to add some detail to these dragonflies.